Coming up, get the forecast for the week.
Well, good morning, and you're watching the Weather Channel. I'm Kim Perez. We're going to talk about some severe weather out there tonight, but first we're going to hit the west to find out what kind of weather we've been having out here. And it looks like on our satellite picture, not much has been happening, and that is the truth. I mean, it has been very quiet, and, well, with a low pressure center off to the north and west, and pretty far away into the Gulf of Alaska. And boy, am I short. Let me try to fix this a little bit here so I'm not so short. Anyhow, so if you live, well, let's say along the west coast, you've been enjoying some very nice weather. But if you live like in Arizona, that's a little bit better. If you live in Arizona or in this area here, actually the monsoon has been playing a part of your weather the last couple of days, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But temperatures today, very hot despite the showers and thunderstorms across the southwest. 110 in Phoenix, 113 in Las Vegas, Reno at 102, Boise at 99 degrees. Actually a little bit cooler than it was yesterday. So, what, 107, something like that? So definitely a little bit of relief there. Billings at 100 degrees. Currently temperatures mainly still in the 80s. Still seeing a few 70s and around 68 in San Diego tonight. It's still 100 degrees in Las Vegas right now. That's pretty impressive. Now, the Pacific Northwest, temperatures a little bit cooler here, as you would expect. 61 in Astoria, 64 in Salem, 80 at Pendleton. So farther inland, temperatures holding on a little bit more. 85 in Stockton. The whole, let's say Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley, temperatures in the 80s and even 93 in Fresno. Farther south, Long Beach up toward the Civic Center into the 70s, 75 in Ontario, 100 degrees in Daggett. Let's talk about some of the earthquake data that we have, and we actually have, about a 2 or a 3 actually on the Richter scale. And this was a 3.5, 14 miles south-southwest of Port. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to say this or not. Huname? How's that? And farther toward the north, we have a 2.4, 8 miles east of Livermore, and also a 3.4, 8 miles west-southwest of Tom's Place. None reported in the Pacific Northwest, and none reported here in Alaska. Currently weather, we hardly have anything being reported here either. A few showers and thunderstorms here in Arizona, and that is really about it. And we're going to show you radar here in a little bit. Tomorrow morning, we expect those thunderstorms should be, well, really diminishing. They really shouldn't even be around tomorrow morning. And look at this front coming in. It's going to bring some cooler air with it, but not a whole lot of it. We are going to cool you down a little bit, but just in time for a warm front to be heading back your way. So tonight a little bit cooler, then we get those southwesterly winds back again, and we're also going to see the chance of thunderstorms here in southern Arizona. But for the west coast, looking good here all the way along the coast, 77 in Santa Barbara. Barstow, you expect 110-degree readings. Definitely Palm Springs 105, maybe a chance of a thunderstorm. As we get the monsoon flow around that upper level high, we get that easterly flow that could bring a few thunderstorms here. But sunshine for the valleys here along the coast, no problems even in the Pacific Northwest. Some gorgeous weather tomorrow, 80 degrees in Portland. It is going to be lovely. And I didn't want to bypass that satellite so fast for you. Maybe I can get it back here. There you go. And now I want to talk about some of the active weather here and through the upper Midwest and the northern plains where we still have severe weather going on. Oh, just to the west and south of Minneapolis, we actually have a few thunderstorms out there tonight. Here's our severe thunderstorm watch, including Minneapolis tonight until 4 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And here are the storms. Looks like just to the south of Minneapolis, probably taking the brunt of the active weather here. Getting ready to cross over Interstate 35. We have reports of 60, 70 mile per hour winds with these storms, large hail, and even a few tornadoes reported on the ground. Here's a closer shot. And you can see that line of storms getting ready to move through Mason City. Maybe later on tonight, La Crosse, looking at severe weather. So we think those storms will continue to track off towards the south and the east. Now here in the southwest, even thunderstorms along the Mogollon Rim. Look at this. These may be coming into Phoenix, but actually looking like they're falling apart a little bit. But we still could see some heavy rainfall in that area. Maybe some strong storms with that. Maybe some heavy rainfall here. We think that's the big threat here across the upper Midwest also. As the front moves off to the east, expect more showers and thunderstorms maybe into southern Wisconsin, and then redeveloping towards the afternoon, maybe Chicagoland up to Detroit seeing severe weather, while the northeast coast will be a beautiful day for you folks. Along the southeast coast, expect a few showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures mainly in the 90s. It's going to be hot. That'll be a big story here in the plains too. Let's take a look at the extended travel forecast.
Announcing an amazing opportunity from your Nissan retailer. Instead of waiting until the end of the model year, Nissan is clearing out the 98s right now and offering $2,000.
10 before the hour. Thanks a lot for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch. And there are some very intense storms near Chicago right now. More on that in just a moment. We start first, though, with the tropical update on this Sunday morning and take a look at the latest concerning Tropical Storm Celia, which is in the Pacific Ocean just off Baja California at 22 degrees north and 115.1 west. Maximum winds with Celia 45 miles per hour, and the storm is moving to the west at 10 with a estimated pressure of 1,002 millibars. Here's the latest on Celia. And the latest is a collapse of most of the convection, or most of the thunderstorm activity during the night. And the reason is that Celia, right up here, is moving into a more hostile environment. That is cooler water, some increase in the wind shear. And although there has been just a little flare-up in the storms on the east side of the center of circulation, actually dissipation of the system entirely is expected within about 72 hours as it moves off into the colder sea surface conditions in a more hostile scenario. So with the latest on Celia in mind, let's check out the climatologically favored spots for development in July in the Gulf, Caribbean, and the Atlantic. Now the red zones on this map do not indicate that conditions are favorable now in this region, only the possibility that if something develops, these would be the areas most likely to see some tropical storm formation early in the hurricane season as we are right now. So as we will see in a minute, it's pretty quiet, so it's probably time to perhaps do a little preparation. And here's a disaster supply kit you can put together very easily. Of course, it would include water, non-perishable food, a flashlight, a battery-operated radio with extra batteries, and of course the first aid kit. You can decide where to go if and when a warning or watch is issued. You can agree on a place to meet, and be sure to develop an evacuation plan with various routes of escape. And now, today, quiet in the Gulf, quiet in the Caribbean, and it's also quiet in the tropical South Atlantic. So zoom in, take a look at the Gulf. Fairly cloud-free, as a matter of fact. And no organization expected. Same deal for the Caribbean region. Even though we do have a couple of very weak circulations near Hispaniola, western tip of Cuba right here, there's very little, if any, significant convection or thunderstorm activity in association with those two swirls. And with that, because of that, we do not expect any development. Out in the Atlantic, well, things are quiet, and off the west coast of Africa, tropical waves continue to advance east to west, but as they head offshore, they encounter the cooler waters and basically fall apart, or at least the thunderstorm activity diminishes. So the bottom line again is, except for Celia on the Pacific side, the tropics very, very tranquil, but that is fairly typical here in mid-July to see that type of scenario. So back to the states, hot high pressure covers the south. Another sizzling day in the southwest. Probably a lot like yesterday when at least a couple of cities and towns, one in Nevada, one in Utah, set a record for the hottest temperature ever observed in the weather records. I think it was Ely, Nevada, Springville, Utah, somewhere above 100 degrees. Today, another sizzler in the west. Hot and muggy in the south. And a nice day, though, for the northeast with moderate humidity, light breezes, and very little chance of precipitation thanks to high pressure, which is centered over New York State this morning. Satellite picture shows the fair weather. Boston, westward to Buffalo, Syracuse, southward to Philadelphia, from Cape May, New Jersey, across the Chesapeake Bay to D.C., Virginia Beach, nice-looking day. These storms weakening over West Virginia, while we have isolated thunderstorms over Kentucky, which remain fairly strong over the coal fields in the eastern part of the state. Temperatures right now, 63 in Elkins, 56 in Albany, 46 at Saranac Lake in the Adirondack Park in upstate New York. A crisp summer morning in that location. But it's 72 in New York and 72 degrees in Philadelphia and even 70 in Detroit. Warm and muggy in the south, as you can see, 70s and low 80s from Dallas and Houston to Miami and Atlanta. A quiet southern weather map, as it will be most of the day, but you can expect popcorn storms to refire once again, especially South Georgia, Florida, and the coastal Carolinas. Watch out for the lightning, and if you're driving, torrential rain could slow you down. Now, the storms this morning, most evident western Great Lakes. We have a severe thunderstorm watch right now. We actually have a pair of watch boxes. One right here, portion of a box, newly issued box by the Storm Prediction Center, including Chicago, Racine, and Milwaukee. And here's why. As we zoom in, we have a powerful line of storms advancing towards the Windy City. This line of storms has had a history of damaging winds, so stay with us for frequent updates.
Every job has its pressures. Ours just happened to be barometric. Weather Center AM.
We have special marine warnings along the shores of Lake Huron as a spotter is reporting winds gusting to 45 knots there. We'll check out those storms and storm watch in just a second. But first, here's your tropical update. Let's give you the latest on Tropical Storm Celia, and we'll also talk about some Saharan dust headed towards Florida. So we begin with a look at Tropical Storm Celia, 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 22.1 north, 115.8 west if you're plotting here. So just going along on our chart, here's 110, here's 120, here's 115, 115.8 west, and 22.1 north, so here's 20, 22.1, bingo. Here it is, the center of our circulation. That is now moving west. Winds about 45 miles an hour. Satellite picture shows you the swirl right here. So it's good circulation still. But the great news to report is that it's pulling westward away from land areas, so it will not be threatening the Baja with its gusty winds and squally weather. So that's headed right out to the Pacific, and it is headed towards slightly cooler waters, so Celia will be winding down. Here's another view of it right here. There's Celia pulling off towards the west, and not a threat to any land areas. This is Mexico. Here's the U.S. right here. You look real close, you can see the states. Here's Texas, here's New Mexico, here's Arizona. And up north of the border here, check this out, just a little subtle swirl right there in our water vapor loop. That tells us there's a disturbance headed through New Mexico towards Arizona. So that's why we think there could be some rather strong storms later today in Phoenix and Tucson, some that could produce hail and very heavy rain. So we'll have to watch out for those buildups in the mountains. Storms will be heading west. Now as we look to the east on our water vapor loop, there's a southwesterly flow here. This southwesterly flow certainly not favorable for tropical development. Don't want strong winds aloft to have a tropical system develop. To the south, though, you can see a disruption here in the water vapor field, and this is a tropical wave moving its way westward. Down here, there's a weak little upper low, and that moved across Puerto Rico yesterday and deposited anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches of rain around San Juan. And yet another wave coming on across into the Lesser Antilles. None of these looks like they'll be an important player for a major tropical system anytime soon, if ever. But this first tropical wave here pulling westward does have a large area of dust in its wake. See this milky appearance to this visible satellite picture? And you see this right here, that is the dust. It's come all the way from the deserts of Africa out across the Atlantic, and now it's moving westward. So here comes our tropical wave. This is forecast to move across Florida probably around Monday night. So starting Tuesday and Wednesday, Floridians will be looking at hazy conditions as this African dust moves its way westward. So just kind of an interesting little sidelight with this tropical wave. Upper low is very, very weak here, right around the Dominican Republic. Few buildups there. Puerto Rico, things quieting down. Next wave coming on in with it. Just a few showers showing up near Martinique, St. Lucia, and Barbados. Now we've colorized the satellite picture for you, showing you some of the colder cloud tops and the oranges and the blues. Notice we don't see anything too serious with our tropical wave here. But around Florida, we do see moisture coming in from the east. And those of you watching from South Florida, certainly looking at a very wet Sunday morning. Next wave comes on into the Lesser Antilles. Again, here's Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and down through the Lesser Antilles. Scattered showers coming on in today. And lastly, coming off the African coast, the latest wave, and certainly nothing too terribly organized right here. So closer to home we go. There is Celia. That's moving westward. It's a tropical storm. That's the tropical storm symbol. To the north, you do see a front in the area of the Great Lakes. Not ahead of it. Some strong and severe storms still in the forecast today. And we've already seen severe storms in Indianapolis. Marble-sized, golf ball-sized hail, and winds did gust 70 to 80 miles an hour on the north side of town. As a matter of fact, these storms developed in Minnesota and just came cruising right across northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and now here's what's left of the line, moving through lower Michigan, northwestern Ohio, and east central Indiana. So as we close into the activity, we'll get you into these storms here in the Midwest, and here's the line moving right across lower Michigan, Here's the Detroit metropolitan area looking at showers and storms sweeping in from west to east. Special marine warnings out in the shores of Lake Huron. Winds gusting 45 knots. Mariners beware on Lake Erie. This line of storms is headed in your direction, moving east about 40 miles an hour. In Detroit, by the way, rain won't last too much longer as everything's cruising right along, so the ball game should be played this afternoon between the Red Sox and the Tigers. Here's Indianapolis. We have the all clear now. Storms have passed southeast, but beware around Cincinnati and the Miami Valley, especially Cincinnati. I think you could get hit this afternoon with some very heavy rains and hail. And there are your downpours moving out through South Florida. Give you an update on all this in the Weather Center.
Nothing changes faster than the weather, but we're running a close second. Stay informed with Weather Center all day today and every day.
So we'll have a ridge of high pressure right here.